Experience. There comes a time when God pulls back the curtain just enough for you to see a glimpse of what he's preparing. You may not see the full picture. Experience, but you sense it. Something in your spirit says change is coming. That's not imagination. That's revelation. God gives vision before he gives manifestation. Experience. When God shows you what's coming next, he's not giving you information to make you comfortable. He's giving you preparation to make you ready. Experience. He reveals your next season, not so you can sit back, but so you can step forward. He wants you to align your faith, your obedience, and your expectation with his promise. Experience. Don't get discouraged if what you see now doesn't look like what God said. The gap between revelation and realization is where faith does its greatest work. Joseph saw himself ruling, but before the throne came the pit and the prison. David was anointed king, but before the crown came the cave. Experience. When God gives you a glimpse of what's coming, you must hold on to it when everything else contradicts it. Sometimes God will show you what's coming next through his word. Sometimes he'll speak it through a whisper in your spirit or through confirmation in circumstances. But however he speaks, one thing remains true. When God shows you, he intends to bring it to pass. His word does not return void. It accomplishes exactly what he sends it to do. You may feel hidden right now. Experience, but hidden seasons are not wasted seasons. God is shaping you for what he showed you. He's strengthening your character, refining your patience, and deepening your trust. Experience. Because when you finally step into the next chapter, you'll need what you learned in the waiting room. So don't doubt the vision God gave you. Experience. Don't let delay convince you that you heard wrong. Keep walking, keep trusting, keep preparing. Because the same God who showed it to you is the same God who will make it happen. Experience. You don't have to chase it. You just have to stay in alignment. When your faith and your obedience meet his timing, everything he promised will unfold right before your eyes. Experience. God showed you what's coming next because he's already written it. Now walk like you believe it's already done. When God gives you a revelation, it is never random. Experience. It is always intentional. He doesn't show you something about your future just to make you excited for a moment. Experience. He shows you something because he's beginning a divine process inside of you. Every vision, every word, every glimpse of what's coming next is a seed planted by heaven. Experience. That revelation is not the end. It's the beginning. It's the spark that ignites faith, direction, and transformation. God gives revelation before manifestation because he always speaks the outcome before you see the evidence. Experience. He wants you to live with the awareness that what he said is more real than what you see. When God revealed to Noah that a flood was coming, there wasn't a cloud in the sky. Experience. When he told Abraham that he would be the father of many nations, he didn't even have a son yet. When he spoke to Moses about leading his people to freedom, experience, the chains of Egypt were still tight. God always speaks first because his word sets everything else in motion. Experience. What he reveals in your spirit becomes the blueprint for what will appear in your life. But the problem is too many people want to see it before they believe it. Experience. They want manifestation without revelation. God doesn't work like that. He speaks to your faith, not your feelings. He gives you a word that demands trust before proof. Experience. Revelation is God's way of calling you into partnership. He could do it all without telling you anything. Experience. But instead, he invites you into the process by revealing what's on his heart. He gives you insight so that you can start aligning your actions, your thoughts, experience, and your prayers with what he's planning. It's like a spiritual GPS. He gives you a destination, but he doesn't always show you every turn on the route. Experience. He reveals the direction, not the details. And that's where many people stumble. They get a glimpse of what's coming next and assume it should happen immediately. Experience. But revelation is not a finish line. It's a starting point. When you receive revelation from God, you must guard it carefully. Experience. The enemy always tries to attack revelation before it becomes manifestation. That's why the moment you get a vision, opposition often increases. Experience. It's not because you're wrong. It's because you're right. The devil doesn't waste energy fighting empty dreams. He fights the ones that have divine backing. Experience. He knows if he can discourage you, distract you, or cause you to doubt, he can delay what God wants to deliver. So when God gives you a glimpse of your next season, hold on to it. Experience. Write it down. Pray over it. Speak it in faith, even when nothing around you looks like it's happening. Sometimes revelation will disrupt your current comfort. Experience. God will show you what's coming next because he's preparing to move you. And that move can make you uncomfortable. He'll show you that greater is ahead. Experience, but he may also start removing people, shifting opportunities, and closing doors that no longer fit your destiny. You may not understand it at first, experience, but revelation always comes with rearrangement. God cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. He will begin to align your environment with your assignment. Experience. The revelation becomes a signal that change is on the way. And while revelation is divine, your response must be disciplined. When God speaks, your responsibility is to believe. Experience, to prepare, and to obey. You don't sit and wait for manifestation. You move in faith. Noah built the ark long before the rain came. Abraham packed his bags long before the promise was fulfilled. Every act of obedience was a declaration of faith. God, experience. I trust what you showed me more than what I see right now. That is what faith looks like, acting on revelation even when there is no visible confirmation. Experience. Revelation also demands patience. What God shows you might not happen immediately, but that doesn't mean it's not real. God's timing is precise. Experience. He reveals something in one season so you can be ready in the next. Sometimes the revelation is early because he wants to train your heart, shape your character. Experience and build your endurance. The revelation may be quick, but manifestation takes time. Between the two, you will experience preparation, pruning, and persistence. Experience. Every delay is development. Every setback is setup. So when God gives you revelation, take it seriously. Don't dismiss it as coincidence. Experience. Don't downplay it because others can't see it. When God shows you something, it's a preview of what he has already prepared. Experience. It's heaven's announcement that your next chapter is being written. Even if you can't see it yet, you can trust that his word is working behind the scenes. Experience. Revelation precedes manifestation, always, because God never speaks without purpose. And when he shows you something, he intends to bring it to pass. Experience. Your only assignment is to believe him enough to act like it's already done. Faith is not tested when everything makes sense. Experience. It's tested in the space between what God said and what you can see. When God gives you a promise, he doesn't hand you the finished picture. He gives you a word and then allows time, trials, and tension to shape your faith. Experience. That in-between space, the waiting room between revelation and realization, is where your belief is proven genuine. Many people receive a powerful vision of what's to come. Experience. But when life doesn't line up immediately, they start to question if they heard right. They assume delay means denial, but in reality, it means development. Experience. Faith is formed in the fire of uncertainty. Think about it. God told Joseph that he would one day lead, rule, and influence nations. Experience. Yet almost immediately after receiving that dream, Joseph was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and imprisoned. Everything looked opposite of what God had said. Experience. But even in that dark place, Joseph's faith was being tested and trained. God was shaping his character to handle the weight of the vision. Because before you can wear the crown, experience, you must carry the cross. Before you can stand in power, you must stand through pressure. The same word that inspires you will be the one that tests you. Experience. Faith has to be tested because untested faith cannot be trusted. You can say you believe, but real faith is proven when believing is no longer easy. When you can't trace God, experience, but you still trust him. When prayers seem unanswered, but you still worship. When doors close, but you still declare his goodness. Experience. That's the kind of faith God develops in the gap. Faith that doesn't depend on feelings. Faith that stands firm even when everything is shaking. Experience. The time between what God shows and what God fulfills is sacred ground. It's where God molds your heart, purifies your motives, and strengthens your endurance. Experience. You may feel like nothing is happening, but in the spiritual realm, everything is. God uses silence to sharpen your hearing. He uses waiting to build your trust. Experience. He uses disappointment to detach you from control. Every situation that seems to go wrong is actually pushing you toward the strength you'll need for what's coming. Experience. During this season, you will often be tempted to take matters into your own hands. You'll feel pressure to make things happen your way because God seems slow. Experience. But faith refuses to manipulate the promise. Faith waits for God's timing because it knows God's methods are perfect. Experience. When Abraham and Sarah tried to fulfill God's promise through their own plan, they produced Ishmael, something that looked like the promise but wasn't. Experience. Don't force what God intends to form. When faith is tested, patience is your weapon. The enemy wants to make you quit halfway, but endurance is the proof of maturity. Experience. And sometimes the testing of your faith will come through loss. God may remove things or people you thought you needed. Experience. He may strip away comfort zones to strengthen your dependence on him. It's not punishment, it's preparation. Experience. You can't enter your next season carrying what belonged to the last one. Every test is designed to detach you from what's temporary and connect you to what's eternal. Experience. That's why James 1:3 says, the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Without that testing, your faith remains shallow and fragile. With it, experience, your faith becomes unbreakable. In that gap between the word and the manifestation, you have to feed your faith daily. Faith weakens when it's not nourished. Stay in prayer. Experience, stay in the word, and stay surrounded by people who remind you of what God said. When your emotions are loud, truth must be louder. Remind yourself, if God showed it to me, experience, he'll bring it to pass. Speak the promise, even when it feels foolish. Declare the vision, even when it looks impossible. Because the test is temporary, experience, but the testimony is eternal. When faith is tested, God is not trying to see if you'll fail. He already knows your heart. Experience, the test is for you, so that you can see how strong he's made you. You'll look back and realize that the same fire that scared you refined you. Experience, the same delay that frustrated you developed you. The same situation that hurt you helped you become who you were meant to be. Faith grows through resistance. Experience. Just as muscles grow under pressure, your spirit grows through struggle. So when it feels like the promise is far away, hold steady. When you're walking through the valley, experience. Remember the vision on the mountain. When doubt whispers that you were wrong, remind yourself that faith is not about seeing, it's about trusting. God never wastes a test. Experience. Every delay, every obstacle, every moment of silence is part of your training for destiny. The promise still stands, even if the process feels long. Experience. The God who spoke it is faithful to complete it. What he started, he will finish. And when he does, your faith will be stronger than ever before. Experience. Preparation is the bridge between promise and fulfillment. When God shows you what's coming next in your life, it is not enough to simply receive the revelation and sit idly by. Experience, God expects a response of readiness, alignment, and intentional action. Preparation is proof of expectation. Experience, it is the spiritual evidence that you believe what God has shown you is real and inevitable. The way you prepare demonstrates whether your faith is merely theoretical or practical. Experience, whether your hope is shallow or deeply rooted in trust. God always prepares his people for what he has promised. You cannot step into a new season carrying the same old mindset, experience, habits, or attitudes. God begins shaping your character, refining your priorities, and strengthening your skills to match the vision he has revealed. Experience, just as a farmer prepares the soil before sowing seed, God prepares you to receive the harvest. If you neglect the preparation phase, you will miss the full blessing of what he intends. Preparation is not a punishment or delay. It is a necessary alignment with destiny. Experience. Preparation is often overlooked because it is quiet and unseen. It doesn't always involve dramatic changes or immediate results. Sometimes preparation is as simple as developing patience, humility, and discipline. Other times, it requires learning to steward resources, manage relationships, experience, or strengthen spiritual discernment. Every area of your life must be aligned with what God has shown you. Preparation is God's way of ensuring that when the doors finally open, experience, you are ready to walk through with excellence and integrity. The process of preparation will challenge you. It will test your persistence, your commitment, experience, and your willingness to grow. God often allows obstacles, trials, or adjustments to teach you lessons that are essential for your next season. Consider Joseph, experience, who was prepared for leadership through the trials of betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment. Each challenge developed wisdom, patience, experience, and humility, qualities necessary for the throne he would eventually occupy. Preparation may not feel glamorous, but it equips you to handle the weight of what God has promised. Experience. Preparation also requires intentional action. God shows you a vision, but that does not exempt you from responsibility. Faith without works is incomplete. Experience. And preparation without effort is wasted. If God shows you a new calling, begin to develop the skills and relationships necessary to succeed. If he shows you a breakthrough, experience, begin positioning yourself spiritually, mentally, and emotionally to receive it. Preparation is active, not passive. Experience. It is the demonstration of your belief that what God has shown you is coming and that you are willing to partner with him to make it happen. Experience. Preparation is also about guarding your heart and focus. God may give you a glimpse of something greater, but the enemy will attempt to distract, discourage, or derail you. Experience. Your preparation includes discipline over your thoughts, decisions, and environment. It includes learning to say no to distractions, negativity, experience, and anything that would compromise your alignment with God's vision. When you prepare with diligence and intentionality, experience, you protect the promise he has shown you from being compromised. Experience. Spiritual preparation is critical because God's promises are not just about circumstances. They are about transformation. Experience. The vision God shows you often requires more than external readiness. It requires an internal readiness. He wants your character, integrity, experience, and faith to be strong enough to sustain the responsibility and blessing that comes with fulfillment. Just as a skilled craftsman refines raw materials into something beautiful. Experience. God refines your life during this preparation period. He is molding your heart, mind, and spirit so that when the manifestation arrives, you are fully equipped to steward it well. Experience. Preparation is also a form of worship. By aligning your life with the vision God has shown you, you are declaring, Lord, I trust your word. Experience, I am ready for what you promised. It is an act of faith that honors God's sovereignty and demonstrates your willingness to cooperate with his plan. Experience, every small decision to grow, learn, and stay faithful is evidence that you are serious about what God has revealed. Finally, experience. Preparation is a season of anticipation and excitement. While the process may be challenging, it is also filled with opportunities to grow closer to God, strengthen your faith, experience, and gain confidence in his plan. Each step you take, no matter how small, moves you closer to the reality of what he has shown you. Experience. Preparation proves that you expect God's promise to come to pass, and it ensures that when it does, you are ready to receive it with gratitude, wisdom, and effectiveness. Experience. In every revelation, preparation is essential. It is proof that you believe what God has shown you and are willing to align your life with it. Through preparation, God equips you. Experience protects you and strengthens you. He molds your character, sharpens your focus, and positions you for success. Preparation is not just about readiness. Experience. It is a declaration of faith, a tangible, practical expression of trust in God's word. When you prepare well, experience, you demonstrate that you not only expect God's promises, but that you are ready to walk confidently into the future he has already ordained for you. Experience. Delays are often the most difficult part of walking in faith. When God shows you what's coming next in your life, the timing may not align with your expectations. Experience. You may see the promise, but it doesn't appear immediately. The gap between what God has revealed and what you experience can feel frustrating, discouraging, and even confusing. Experience. Yet delays are not denials, they are divine development. God uses these periods to prepare you, refine you, experience, and strengthen your character so that you are ready to receive what he has promised. What feels like a pause is often a purposeful period of growth. Delays teach patience. Experience, which is one of the most important virtues in the life of a believer. Impatience often leads to mistakes, poor decisions, or actions that attempt to force God's hand. Experience. When you trust God's timing, you allow him to orchestrate events in a way that brings maximum blessing. Waiting is not a sign of weakness. It is a demonstration of faith. Experience. It shows that you trust God's wisdom over your own understanding. Proverbs reminds us that God's timing is perfect, and he acts in ways that bring lasting impact. Experience. The delay you experience is an invitation to lean fully on him and trust that he is moving behind the scenes. During seasons of delay, God is also working to refine your character. Experience. Just as gold is refined in fire to remove impurities, your waiting period serves a purpose beyond what you can see. You may be gaining wisdom, learning discipline, experience, or strengthening your faith. Each trial, each moment of waiting is shaping you into the person you need to be to steward the promise God has revealed. Without this refinement, experience, you may not be prepared for the responsibility, influence, or blessing that comes with the fulfillment of his word. Experience. God is as concerned with your development as he is with your destiny. Delays also teach endurance. Life is full of seasons where progress is slow, experience, and circumstances do not reflect the promises you hold in your heart. But perseverance in these times proves the depth of your faith. It demonstrates that your trust is not conditional upon immediate results. Endurance is developed when you continue to act faithfully, pray consistently, experience, and maintain hope even when the visible evidence seems contrary. These periods of waiting produce spiritual strength that will sustain you when God moves. Experience. The trials of delay are not setbacks. They are setups for a more significant manifestation. Another purpose of delays is protection. Sometimes, experience, what we want or expect is not what God intends. He may delay the fulfillment of a promise to prevent harm, misalignment, or a premature breakthrough. Experience. The waiting period allows God to orchestrate circumstances, position people, and arrange details in ways that ensure the promise comes to pass fully and appropriately. While delays can be frustrating, they are often a sign of God's care and precision. He is not late. He is aligning every piece of the puzzle. Delays also provide an opportunity to strengthen your relationship with God. When fulfillment is not immediate, you are encouraged to depend on Him more deeply. You learn to pray with greater intensity, trust more fully, and seek His guidance in ways that you may not have without the waiting period. Your faith becomes less about circumstances and more about confidence in His character and His promises. God wants you to value Him for who He is, not just for what He gives. This shift in perspective transforms your understanding of blessings and ensures that when your promise arrives, your gratitude and wisdom are fully developed. Finally, delays create anticipation and appreciation. When God finally fulfills what He has promised, the experience is richer because of the waiting period. You are prepared spiritually, mentally, and emotionally to embrace the promise with understanding, responsibility, and joy. The period of delay deepens your reliance on God, strengthens your faith, and heightens your awareness of His sovereignty. It teaches you to recognize that fulfillment is not just about the result, but also about the journey and growth that accompanies it. Understanding delays as divine development transforms frustration into faith. It allows you to trust God's timing, remain patient, and continue preparing while He works behind the scenes. Delays are never wasted. They are intentional, purposeful, and essential for the full manifestation of God's promises. They teach patience, refine character, build endurance, provide protection, deepen relationship with God, and increase appreciation for His blessings. The promise is coming. And the delay is simply a part of God's perfect plan to ensure that when it arrives, you are fully ready to receive it and walk in it with faith, wisdom, and gratitude. In the life of a believer, delays are not obstacles. They are opportunities. They are proof that God is at work even when you cannot see it. They remind you that His timing is perfect, His plan is precise, and His promises are certain. Waiting is not passive. It is active preparation and trust. Embrace the delay as a season of divine development and know that God is faithfully moving everything into place for the fulfillment of what He has already shown you. Obedience is the key that unlocks the fulfillment of God's promises. When God shows you what's coming next in your life, it is not enough to simply believe in the vision or hope that it will happen. Faith must be coupled with obedience. Obedience is the active response to revelation. Experience is the practical application of what God has shown you. Without it, a vision remains just a dream. With it, a vision becomes reality. God honors obedience because it demonstrates trust, submission, and alignment with His will. Obedience is often tested when the path seems unclear or difficult. God may reveal a promise, but the steps to reach it are not always easy or obvious. That is where faith meets action. You must move forward, even when you cannot see the entire path. Abraham obeyed God by leaving his home for a land he had never seen. Noah built the ark before there was a cloud in the sky. Both examples show that obedience requires trusting God's word over your understanding of circumstances. Action in alignment with revelation is the proof of genuine faith. Obedience also aligns your life with God's timing. God's plans unfold according to His perfect schedule, not ours. When you obey Him in the present moment, you position yourself to receive the promises He has revealed. Every choice, decision, and action that follows His word becomes a step toward fulfillment. Disobedience, on the other hand, delays or even derails the manifestation of what God has shown you. It is not about punishment. It is about alignment. God desires that you walk in sync with His purpose, and obedience is the way to stay in rhythm with His plan. Spiritual obedience involves more than outward actions. It includes your heart, your thoughts, and your motives. God looks at the inner life as much as the external. You may follow instructions outwardly, but if your heart resists or doubts, your obedience is incomplete. True obedience requires humility, trust, and surrender. It means saying, God, I may not understand everything, but I will follow you because I trust you. That surrender transforms obedience from mere duty into an expression of faith. Obedience is often accompanied by testing. The enemy will attempt to challenge your commitment to follow God's instruction. You may face opposition, criticism, or even personal doubt. But these challenges are opportunities to strengthen your obedience. Every time you choose to follow God's direction despite difficulty, you reinforce your faith and deepen your trust in His guidance. Obedience grows stronger through resistance, and resistance proves that your faith is genuine. Obedience also produces fruit that prepares the way for God's promises. When you act on the revelation, you create conditions for manifestation. God does not act in isolation. Experience. He invites you to participate. Your obedience is a conduit through which his power flows. Think of the Israelites crossing the Jordan. Experience. They had to step into the river as instructed, even though the waters had not yet parted. Their obedience made room for the miracle. Similarly, when you follow God's direction, experience, doors open, opportunities arise, and circumstances shift in ways that bring his promises to fruition. Faithful obedience requires consistency. Experience. It is not enough to obey when it is convenient or easy. God looks for steadfastness. Your willingness to obey consistently, even in small matters, demonstrates that you are ready for greater responsibility. The Lord said in Luke 16:10, experience. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Obedience in small things is training for obedience in larger matters. Experience. It prepares you for the responsibilities and blessings of the next season God has revealed. Obedience is also a form of worship. Experience. When you choose to act in alignment with God's vision, you acknowledge his authority and wisdom. It is an expression of reverence and trust. Experience. The act of obeying shows that you value his word above your understanding, his plan above your preferences, and his timing above your impatience. Experience. Worship and obedience are intertwined. Both require surrender, faith, and recognition of God's sovereignty. Finally, experience. Obedience ensures that the revelation God has given you will come to pass. The promise is guaranteed by God's faithfulness. Experience. But your obedience activates the channels through which the promise flows. It is the bridge between vision and reality. Without it, the promise may remain delayed or incomplete. Experience. With it, the path is clear and God's power can move unhindered to fulfill his word. In summary, obedience is not optional for those who desire to see God's promises fulfilled. Experience. It is the practical demonstration of faith, the alignment of your actions with his word, and the pathway to manifestation. It requires trust, humility, consistency, and courage. Experience. Obedience produces fruit, protects the vision, and ensures that the revelation becomes reality. When God shows you what's coming next, experience. Your response of faithful obedience confirms your readiness and opens the door for his promises to move from vision to fulfillment. Experience. When God shows you what's coming next in your life, it is not a suggestion. It is a guarantee. The revelation you receive is a preview of his plan. Experience. And God does not show what he will not fulfill. Understanding this truth is critical for walking in faith, hope, and confidence. What God reveals to you is already in motion. Experience. Even if you cannot see it yet, the promise has already been written in heaven, and every circumstance around you is being arranged to bring it into existence. Experience. Faith often struggles with timing. You may see the vision, hear the word, or sense the direction, but the reality has not yet appeared. This is where trust becomes essential. Experience. The fulfillment of God's promises is anchored not in your ability to see, but in your willingness to believe. The promise exists whether you perceive it or not. And God is faithful to bring it to pass. You do not need to manufacture it, manipulate it, or force it. You only need to align yourself with the one who made the promise. Experience. God's revelation carries within it the guarantee of his faithfulness. God's promises never return void. When he shows you what's coming next, experience. That vision is already in motion. Think of it as a seed planted in fertile soil. The seed does not need to remind the gardener to grow. The potential is already within it. Experience. The gardener's work is to ensure the soil is ready, water is provided, and conditions are favorable. In the same way, God has planted the seed of his promise in your life. Experience. Your responsibility is to stay in faith, prepare your heart, and align your life with his word. The fulfillment will happen according to his perfect timing. Experience. Even when life seems chaotic or circumstances appear contrary, remember that God's revelation is not dependent on your surroundings. You may face setbacks, opposition, or delays. Experience, but these are not signs that the promise has failed. The delay is often part of the preparation, protection, and development process. Experience. God orchestrates everything in the spiritual and natural realms to ensure that the promise comes to pass at the perfect moment. Experience. Trusting God's faithfulness allows you to remain confident, even when the path is not yet clear. God's fulfillment is also about precision. He does not rush. Experience. He does not stumble. He does not overlook the details. When he shows you something, it is perfectly timed and perfectly executed. Experience. This is why patience is a key aspect of walking in faith. The promise may feel slow to appear, but every detail is being positioned carefully. The obstacles, the waiting, experience, and even the preparation are all part of a divine process to ensure that when the vision manifests, it is complete and perfect. Experience. The fullness of God's plan cannot be shortened or rushed by human impatience. Faith and action are necessary companions to God's guarantee. While the promise is secure in his hands, you are called to respond appropriately. This includes preparation, obedience, and maintaining trust through every season. Experience. Your actions do not create the promise, but they create the environment for God's fulfillment to manifest fully. Just as a gardener waters weeds and tends the soil for the seed, your responsibility is to nurture your faith, align your life with God's word, and remove anything that hinders the promise. Experience. Your faith-filled obedience becomes the channel through which God's faithfulness flows. Experience. It is also important to recognize that God's promises are not limited by human understanding or circumstances. What he has shown you may surpass your imagination, exceed natural expectation, or defy human logic. This is because God's vision for your life is based on his limitless power, perfect wisdom, and unchanging purpose. You may not understand how it will happen, but understanding is not required. Trust is required. The one who gave the vision is faithful, and his guarantee is sufficient. Finally, experience. The guarantee of God's promise brings confidence and hope. You can face uncertainty with courage because the outcome has already been determined. Experience. You can persevere through trials knowing that what God has shown you will manifest. You can walk in faith because his word is certain. Experience. The revelation is both a roadmap and a confirmation the vision is true. The promise is real and the fulfillment is inevitable. In conclusion, experience. When God shows you what's coming next, understand that it is a divine guarantee. The promise is already in motion, and his faithfulness ensures that it will manifest. Experience. Your role is to believe, prepare, obey, and align yourself with his word. Circumstances may delay the fulfillment, trials may test your patience, and preparation may take time. Experience. But the promise remains certain. God's revelation is never empty. It is a guarantee from heaven. Trust it, act on it, and walk confidently. Experience, knowing that the God who revealed it is the God who will bring it to pass.